Ever wondered how to install a XForce downpipe on an Elantra N? We wonder too. Let's find out. Dang it. So Jake just made a good point. The whole 7 people who wonder.
Yeah, all 7 of us.
There's an XForce downpipe. There's an Elantra N. I was just under the car and looked at how much room there is to pass that enormous section of pipe that's in one piece versus 2 pieces, as the OEM one, into that tiny little hole because they put the turbo on the back. They really need to cut that crap out and stop doing that. We didn't look up a video. I guess we could have, but I'm a hard head. Jacob said, yeah, we're men. We're going to die like men. Apparently shops try this and then are suddenly surprised at how long it takes. I don't believe it, but we're going to do this completely raw and see.
Raw dog in life.
Raw dog in life. See if we can get that downpipe in there. Jacob also got the optional ARP stud kit because apparently these things like to break the studs and
be a man.
Right. So we got to do the studs at the same time as well. I don't know. We're just going to start taking stuff apart. We've already done the sketchiest part, which is to get this car up off the ground. It's so difficult. Side note to anyone doing this, because these cars are really stiff and the whole car wants to move and there's not many good jack points. There's a bar that travels right behind the radiator under the car that you can see from the top here. That guy right there. There's a piece of plastic under tray on it, but you can put the jack on that pipe. It doesn't look like it'd be strong enough to lift the car. We tried it. Car lifted. It didn't complain. Just make sure you're square on it and you can grab the middle front of the car and pick it up. Your results may vary. You screw your car up, it's not my fault. Anyways, first thing I'm gonna do is get under the car. Jacob has a titanium mid pipe. We're gonna remove the titanium mid pipe. There's a aluminum splash shield. I'm gonna drop that. Undo the exhaust mount. I'm gonna show you that stuff once I've got it off, and then
make sure you show them how beautiful that titanium mid pipe is.
It is, because it blued. And then we'll come back up here and start taking apart all of the heat shields and junk. All of this will be dumb to video, so you're gonna have to live with it. So here's the factory downpipe coming into that beautiful blued titanium mid pipe. I'm gonna take that mid pipe out. All right. Once the titanium mid pipe is out, or your stock mid pipe, I highly suggest that beautiful titanium mid pipe though. Next thing I'm gonna do is get this aluminum tray out, and it's got 2 10mm bolts. So let me get this sucker out so we have more clearance to look up into here. All right, so once you have that tray out, it's actually 3 10mm bolts, nuts. Now we can see the factory downpipe and the downpipe connector easier. I'm going to go ahead and remove this exhaust hanger. I've got a fancy Lowell tool that's like 20-30 bucks. I don't know what it is with inflation anymore, but these things are awesome rather than fighting. I'm going to get that hanger off, and I think I'm going to go ahead and try to separate the factory splitting point, which is down there. You can see the nut. There's 2 nuts. Just to make this easier. I know we're going to have to fight the other one in, but let's not fight this one on the way out. I may own a Ford, but it is a Whipple supercharged 700 wheel horsepower monster. You're going to need to give it some credit. Yeah, that's right. That's an S650 sitting right there on drag radials with a Whipple. Anyways, videos are on the channel if you want to see that. We've got the second part of the mid pipe off. See that stupid amalgamation of extensions and socketry and crap? That's what it took. So now that the mid pipe is off, I got that from underneath with just the right combo of stuff. I'm going to go up top now and undo some heat shields and get this downpipe to come away from the turbo. All right, so now we're up top. I've got to get heat shields off, and this crap is still hot and the sun's baking it even further. So we've got a bunch of what looks like 10mm bolts, and then I've got to get the oxygen sensors out. There are special sockets for removing these. Do not try to put a normal socket on that. I've got these guys both in off axis. We see it's got a slot inside of it so you can slip the wire through, and a head on. Let me get that out. Now I know not a single Kia engineer is watching this video or cares. But there is a nut. Look, I'm gonna point at it. Right here that holds this heat shield on. And there is no physical way to get to this. I don't even know when the car was disassembled you could get to this without the head being on. Like, I think maybe it's on the exhaust manifold and they put it on with the exhaust manifold, but it's basically impossible to get to after the fact. I'm gonna cut this heat shield and I'm gonna have no bad feelings about it. There's like, I'd have to be prepared to disconnect the exhaust manifold and back it away from the car, possibly try to take the cold side of the turbo off. That's dumb. We're not doing that. I'm gonna get some steel chisels or something, because this is just aluminum, and very carefully cut around that bolt right there and pull this heat shield out. Yeah, this is dumb. Why Hyundai? Whatever, you do whatever you want to do to get this off, but I am not taking the manifold off of this car. Bye. All right, so the heat shield is off. You curious how this happened? It was a chisel and a hammer, thin chisel, and I reached down in here and I just broke the aluminum away. Let me grab my other hand here. Broke the aluminum away from around the nut because it's got like a collet, and that allowed me to slip the heat shield out. Again, your mileage may vary, do what you want to do, but I was not about to take any more of this apart needed than that. So now I'm going to take this heat shield off, which, fingers crossed, knock on wood, though I don't have wood to knock on, it'll go a little easier. All right, so note, after looking at the way that those heat shields mount and the way that this downpipe is made, you're not putting any of this trash back on again anyways, so YOLO. I went ahead and cut around that O2 sensor to pull it out. The reason why I haven't removed the O2 sensors is that this one is shrouded and my socket does not fit in here. So one of two things is going to happen. Either this shroud is going to get cut off on my bench, or I'm going to grind my socket to get in here. And well, the second O2 sensor is just in a really crappy place to get to. So assuming I can get the downpipe out with the O2 sensors in, and that might not even be possible, we're going to find out. I'm going to go ahead and remove them outside of the car. For now, we're going to get the 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts holding the downpipe onto the backside of the turbo. Alrighty then. All 4 studs came out with their nuts. These nuts will not come off of the stud without stripping the threads off of the stud, leaving the nut on. So word to the wiser. What I did figure out, all this is still pretty warm, is I squirted penetrating fluid, in this case WD-40 worked fine, into the seam here. Once the nuts were backed away and this could wiggle a little bit, into the seam, and that lubricated where the stud touches this flange. It's like the holes aren't quite right and they're binding on the shoulder of the stud right here. You see it's rubbed on it pretty hard and it wants to seize in this flange. So if you get some penetrating fluid in this flange right here, the threads seem to be fine in the casting of the turbo. The stud will come straight out with the nut, and now this is free. So all I've got now is there's a bracket down here. It looks like 2 bolts that hold this to the base of the motor. I'm gonna get those out and see if I can fish the downpipe up, down, left, right, I don't know. Figure it out in a second. Hi, this is me with bruised and bloody knuckles, otherwise known as JB. A few things here. That heat shield, we have it loose. We could probably force it out of here. We haven't, it's just chilling, so we can move the downpipe around. You are not getting this downpipe out without taking the O2 sensors out, so remove them. We destroyed the threads on the one on the bottom because it was seized in the pipe. I think I might be able to save it and put it in the new downpipe. I'll try. I have to clean the threads up. The upper one came out, wasn't too big of a deal, though you have to modify even a normal O2 socket because it's got that shroud around it and it's really, really difficult to get into. Anyways, I had studs in temporarily just so I could hold the pipe still. From what I'm seeing, there is no secret to this. even if you drop the subframe a little bit, even if you loosen the motor and rolled it forward, you'll pinch the top and open up the bottom, or vice versa, depending on which way you move it. There is no good way to do this. The right way, the way that Hyundai probably intended, is for the whole subframe to be dropped out to work on any of this crap back here. Obviously, we're not going to do that. This can come out, but it's going to have to basically drop down and then twist 360 degrees, moving a little bit each way on the way out. So you need as much of this loose, so that I've got the hot air pipe on the underneath. The hot air charge pipe is disconnected and pushed off to the side. I've got the heat shield on the steering rack removed and slipped out. I've got this heat shield loose so that we can slide it up out of the way. We might end up pulling that out of there, just depending on what happens as we get this out. All I'm going to do now is lay under the car and begin the process of carefully down, turn, down, turn, down, turn, down, turn, down, turn, until it slips out of the hole. Supposedly it can, so we'll try. All right, so the downpipe is about to come out. I've watched one other video on this, the only decent video there is, where they explain a few things. Something they didn't add, other than O2 sensors and everything else, you need to take the studs out of this flange. I've double nutted them and back these out. You'll need an impact to do that. Take a close look at the angle this downpipe is right now. See the flange where it used to bolt to the block? You see where it is? You need to stand the downpipe up and then rotate it about 90 degrees until this flange can slip up into this corner right here, and the pipe will be much more vertical than you'd think. And the pipe will jog inwards just to where it's getting right here. You see where this bolt is? It's almost even with it, about half an inch behind it, and then the downpipe starts slipping out this way. In fact, I can probably do it. We're here right now on camera, and it's out the hole. I cannot begin to tell you how dumb of an adventure this has been. And I really, really, really hope that that aftermarket downpipe just slithers right back in that freaking hole. All right, so as you can see, the XForce downpipe is in the hole. The best thing I can tell you is this ends up coming out a lot like going in a lot like the downpipe came out. Keep the flange here, the turbo flange, pointed this way as you come in, and whenever it gets stuck in the firewall down there in that heat insulation, much like the other one did, make sure the bracket stays all the way in the corner and push forward to get it in, not pointing this way, because if you push this way it'll just bind, but if you keep forcing it this way it'll slip past that insulation. Alternatively, you could take that transmission tunnel insulation out of there, and it would give you a little bit more wiggle room, though you might scratch up your paint on the way in. It's up to you. We got this in without doing that. It did scratch the insulation up a little bit, but whatever. I've got a stud right now holding this up just so that I can play with the oxygen sensors. I think I can put the oxygen sensor in after the fact. I didn't want to try to fight it while it was on there, though we do have ARP bolts that go on here to hold this. So I've got this is the oxygen sensor that the threads got chewed up on. I was able to clean them up with a file and then wire brushed them on the bench grinder, and then got a little anti-seize on it and got it into this part of the O2 extender, or O2 fouler. And then here's the other part of the O2 fouler. I'm going to try to put it in pieces. I'm going to sneak this down in there and then try to get the O2 sensor in after the fact. I suppose now that the downpipe is in here, though I don't want to pull it back out again, it might be possible to just put this on and get the downpipe into the hole, because it didn't seem like much was fouling on it, but I'm going to try to sneak this in after and see how hard that is. I know it's hard to see, so you're going to have to take what you're getting and like it. That's the secondary O2 sensor, the post-catalytic converter O2 sensor. You can get this in after the pipe is on the car. It's actually in a much better place than it is in the factory one, which is why it got hurt in the first place. If I come this way, you can see it right through here. You can choose to reach this way, but if you reach through the wheel well here, you can actually reach all the way up to this with a crescent wrench. You need something decently small and short to work with this, so I used a little crescent wrench. to put the pieces together in the pipe. Make sure to use some anti-seize so this comes out again. You'll also notice it's pretty close to that, I don't know what that is, power steering, water pump, something, maybe AC compressor, I have no idea, I didn't look at it very closely. But it's right next to that belt on the drive system. So pay attention. It looks like it's a little short to reach that connector, so I might have to reroute the harness a little bit, but make sure you put a zip tie on this, maybe up to that coolant line right here, to make sure that these two don't come in contact with each other. All right, so we've got the ARP studs and the nuts on. I've got them loose because I still need to bolt the downpipe to the block with those 2 bolts. But other than that, everything else is just in reverse of what you've done, including putting this O2 sensor in, all of the heat shields, the exhaust, all of that stuff. We'll bring you back after I've done some more. Note to everyone doing this, these 2 bolts right here by the passenger side axle that hold the downpipe to the block, leave the charge pipe here loose with the rubber connector off so that you can actually fit a hand and a socket and everything in here. This is super tight, and it is impossible to start with the charge pipe in the way because it sits right here and it got the tiny little window. Leave all of this stuff loose and then go tighten the downpipe at the top, which is what I'm going to do. All right, now we got the downpipe connected to this little extension that's meant for the in and some other cars into the mid pipe. So now all I got to do is put that aluminum shield back on and then tighten the clamp over there at the end of the mid pipe, and we'll give it a start. All right, first start. Don't hear any exhaust leaks. That's a lot louder. All right, Jake, let's hear it. Is that all it's got?
Let's see.
What? Shots fired.
Holy shit.
Was it worth becoming a crawfish? Does that hurt?
Oh, yeah, that hurts. God.
Wow, that's loud as hell. You'll be able to sneak nowhere, even in normal mode. It's really loud. Gosh.
Eco.
Okay. Angry hairdryer. It still pops. Yeah. Nice. All right, let's. We're gonna put this thing on the ground. It's still burning the fingerprints and oils off of the pipes because, you know, dirty man hands all over it. And then we're gonna do you an awesome and give you some in-cab and 360 cam hanging off the back of it for all of the pops, bangs, and popcorn. All right, Jake, let's let him hear what normal mode sounds like driving around. You want to do some downshifting and stuff?
Sure. Let's see what we got.
Nothing crazy there. It is a lot better in normal mode. Like, it sounds like a sporty car now in normal mode, which is nice. It's as loud as your Forte GT ever was in normal mode. And it does actually fart. It does actually fart in normal mode, but which it didn't before.
No.
You want to slow down a good bit and put it in mode. Let's let them hear what that sounds like. Oh, God, I don't know that I'm ready for this. It's not that bad at all.
No.
I know how loud it is on the outside of the car right now. It's not that bad inside. Like, you could drive around in mode and
It doesn't
you wouldn't. It doesn't sound much any louder. You hear more pops, but I know on the outside of this car, everybody is ducking because they think shots are going off. Okay. It's nice. It's loud. It's also tinnier than it was before. It's less refined, and I like that. It sounds more organic. All right, so that's enough of the in-car stuff. It's nice to know that it won't rattle you out of the car. It's not droning. It's completely quiet in here. Like just driving around normal, you can't tell. But the real fun is going to come from what this thing sounds like on the outside, and it is absolutely ridiculous. So we're going to get you some 360 cam footage hanging off the butt of this thing. Show us, Jacob, what not wearing the right clothes in the sun looks like. So let's talk about it. Is it worth it? No. Yes.
But no.
Does it sound really cool? Yes. Is it worth the tremendous amount of heartache to replace it? 0%.
Dude, I think that was like 7 hours of just misery.
And look, I wasn't on a lift, but that wouldn't have made it any faster. If you're a mechanic and you're watching this video, charge the customer for a engine down. like unbolt the engine subframe and drop it. Because for someone who does this for a living, it would be cheaper for you and the customer if you just spent the hour dropping the motor, bolting it on in literally minutes, and then putting the motor back in versus fighting trying to get that crap out in place. It is really, really, really difficult. This coming from someone who's installed a Whipple supercharger, done timing jobs on timing belt vehicles, built diesel Broncos, you know, powertrain conversions. That was a pain. I am tore up. Sounds cool as hell though.
Sounds fantastic.
Well,
almost made it worth the misery he went through and me looking like Larry the Lobster from SpongeBob.
I told Jacob that, you know, I don't wish him pain, but at least he got to somewhat understand what I just went through trying to put that stupid pipe on. Anyways, do it if you dare. The labor for someone to do that is going to cost more than the pipe. I'm telling you right now. And if you do it yourself, you better be very adept and have good tools and be prepared for an entire day, start to finish. That was brutal. I'm done. It's over with. We're gonna go make some noise in the 700 wheel horsepower SX50 Mustang to make ourselves feel better. And then I'm going to take a shower.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for coming along on this ridiculous adventure. As usual, we love you. God bless. Peace.